Alright, so I tried it out for a couple of weeks, and honestly this is the way that I expected it to go. What I expected to tell you was that Android was an unbearable experience and iPhone is the ultimate experience. I expected to say that there was a lack of great apps on the App Store and that the flagship features offered by the S21 Ultra were really just for show and not really for the average consumer. But after spending 2 weeks with the S21 Ultra, I'm here to say that this is not the video that I was expecting to make. Let's get into it. So the S21 Ultra is Samsung's latest flagship phone. I picked up the 128GB Phantom Silver edition in an attempt to see if Android had really made improvements over the last couple of years. After all, the last Android phone that I used was, I believe, the Galaxy Note 4. And my experience with that was so bad that I actually bought out of my contract to buy into an iPhone 6 at the time because I truly found it that bad. But the S21 actually changed my experience with Android and what I thought I knew about the operating system. And I'm actually surprised to say that I enjoyed my time with the phone. Where I used to say that iPhone was the ultimate experience, now all that I can really claim is that it comes down to personal preference. So I've got here the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And at first glance, you're really not going to see much of a difference between these phones. After all, they're both just very big smartphones. On the iPhone 12 Pro Max, you get a 6.7-inch display, and on the S21 Ultra, you get a 6.8-inch display. Both are OLED displays, both render true blacks and really vivid colors, but the S21 Ultra has a couple of features that it can boast over the iPhone 12 Pro Max. The biggest of which is a curved 120Hz display that's both edge-to-edge with minimal bezels and extremely responsive to use no matter what you're doing. It's got a hole punch camera at the top where I'm used to seeing a notch, and while it looked cool, I didn't feel like I gained much value from having the hole punch design and getting those few extra pixels around the top where I was missing them with the notch on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Still, with the small hole punch design, they're able to fit in a face scanner as well as a fingerprint scanner underneath the display. Another feature that's new to me on a smartphone, but I loved on my Apple Watch, was the always on display. And when you've got OLED, this just makes sense. So when you lock the phone, it's going to shut off a majority of the pixels as each one can be turned off individually, leaving only the pixels on that need to be on to display things like your clock or notifications or the fingerprint scanner. And in my experience of having this turned on, I can't say that it really impacted battery life at all. And it really is a great feature to be able to just glance at your phone and see if you have any notifications without having to turn it on, swipe through anything, go to Notification Center. All of that's left behind and you can just glance at it. So the display really is as good as everybody's saying that it is, and I cannot dispute that. My only problem with it is actually those curved edges on the screen. I find that when I'm holding the phone, I'll accidentally touch the edges of the screen without realizing it, and that stops me from being able to scroll through programs or continue texting, or really just using the phone at all. I've been using this device for about 2 weeks and I still don't really know the right way to hold this thing to avoid this problem. And it actually made me more excited to go back to my iPhone, where I knew I could hold my phone correctly and still be able to use it. It seems to me like the squared edges on the iPhone actually provide much more of a benefit than the curved edges of the S21 Ultra. Now flipping it over to the back of the S21 Ultra, we've got all of these cameras. I have footage in my first impressions of the S21 Ultra, and I'm not going to go into too many comparisons here, but what I found is even though it had these bold features like 100x zoom and 8K footage and 108 megapixel cameras, I still found that I was able to take better photos using my iPhone. And I don't know if that's because I'm used to iPhone or if it really just does take better photos, but I was finding that my iPhone photos had less noise and more vibrant colors than anything that I could produce on the S21 Ultra. All right, so then we've got this 100x zoom that everybody keeps talking about. And I mean, it's a feature, it's on the phone, it works, but I find that it always produces blurry photos. And I mean, they've got stabilizing in this thing and some ways to make it more practical and usable by the end consumer. But I just don't find that you're gonna take really quality photos with 100x zoom. If anything, it's meant to push the boundaries of what a flagship phone can do with a zoom lens. and I definitely think things like 30 times zoom are much more practical and produce really great results on the S21 Ultra. But 100 times zoom, not practical, at least not yet. Overall, it's a highly unrealistic feature that I don't think most people are going to gain use out of. If anything, it's meant to push the boundaries of what a phone can do and push competitors to build better cameras. Now, bloatware is one of the biggest problems that I have with Samsung and really Android altogether. And while the S21 Ultra is not as bad as previous Android phones before it, there's still a ton on here. It might not be as bad if you had a different launcher, but I found with the default Samsung UI that it was constantly promoting their own apps like Samsung Pay or using the Galaxy Store instead of the Play Store, and it actually made it confusing. I wasn't sure which app I was supposed to use. At first I didn't realize there was Google Pay because they were promoting Samsung Pay. So if anything, the bloatware just serves to confuse people unless you're really hardcore into Samsung and you want to use all of their apps. But as of now, I don't really see any value in using their apps over the stock apps that Android provides. Throughout my time using the S21 Ultra, I couldn't help but think how beautiful of a phone that Samsung could make if they removed the bloatware and just made a stock Android device equipped with Google apps, and that is everything. But I know that that's dreaming and that's not something that's likely to be coming anytime soon, as they have their own features that they're trying to promote. Now, rather than talking about the intricacies of Android versus iPhone, I want to focus on the consumer side and the things that people are likely to use on the day-to-day. Now, focusing on my daily life, I actually found that my experience on Android was pretty doable. All of the apps I was using before, minus Clubhouse, were on the Play Store, and I was really surprised how easily I was able to make Android work with my life. The notification system was really clean, even in the little animations of all of the icons floating into the tray. Google Assistant was shockingly accurate. I found myself scrolling and every single article was precisely something that I would be interested in. So before I go any further into this, I want to say that the lines between iPhone and Android are getting a little bit blurrier. You can't say that one is really that much better than the other. Where I used to say that Apple was the superior operating system by a long shot, it's now getting better and better to use Android. Now, that being said, I did choose to go back to the iPhone 12 Pro Max after my time with the S21 Ultra. And my reasoning for that goes beyond the S21 Ultra and lends itself more to the Android operating system as a whole. While I was surprised how snappy the Android operating system is getting, I missed the sophistication of iOS. It was really clear to me from the beginning that Android was built to cater to a variety of different phones from all shapes and sizes, whereas iOS was built specifically for iPhone and nothing else. In the subtleties of the Android system, you're seeing signs that show this. Like, for example, the notification tray at the top seems to cut directly through the hole punch camera, whereas if Apple designed this, I feel like they would have had equal padding on the top of the camera and the bottom of the camera. And another problem I had was widgets. I found that on iPhone they were really clean, but then on Android, they seemed to be lacking that sophistication, and even resizing them to fit within the frame was awkward and I could never quite get it to work. Overall, I just found the widget experience to be messy on Android, whereas it was always clean on iOS. Again, I think that lends back to the idea that Android caters to a variety of different devices instead of just having one device to plan around, but it was definitely an experience I missed during my time on Android. So ultimately, while I expected to be making a video that straight up complained about the Android operating system, I was surprised that it wasn't all that bad of an experience. And the only reason that I was switching back to the iPhone was because I value the little details being ironed out, the stability and the lack of crashing, the fast load times, and then ultimately the Apple ecosystem, which is so highly integrated into iOS. Now, obviously, everything that I said here in this video is highly controversial if you're somebody looking to have that battle between iPhone and between Android. So if you completely disagree with everything that I'm saying in this video, or you have a point that you want to bring up, battle it out down in the comments below. I'm definitely interested to hear your take on all of this. As well, remember to hit that like button because it tells YouTube that videos like this don't suck. And hit the subscribe button to see more videos like this from me. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.